Hi everyone, welcome back to 33 Founders. Chase and I are really excited to be joined by the founders of SpoonRocket today. Food delivery in under 10 minutes. Thanks for joining us, Anson and Steven.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so now before we started this recording, you're telling us how for the past 4 years you had a 24-hour food service delivery in your Berkeley days. And now the two of you have created SpoonRocket to enhance the fast food experience with the edge of health. So can you just tell us how it works, first of all?
Yeah, so essentially we keep our menu very limited. So there's 4 items right now, 2 hot meals, one that's vegetarian and one that's non-vegetarian. And then we have a salad and a smoothie. And our service is really geared towards healthy alternatives. And being delivered super quick. That's why we focus a lot on that 10-minute delivery time to provide this very magical and not replicable experience.
Hey, can you guys tell us a little bit about how you do the 10-minute delivery time? Because you have a really interesting model.
It's a little bit like a floating hub model, as we like to call it, where I mean, we don't want to give too much of the magic away, but I mean, there's a lot of technology in the background actually that does the routing. It's pretty advanced, and then we utilize mobile technology such as smartphones and having like a bunch of cars, kind of like a little bit like Uber for food. You get your Uber in 10 minutes, you kind of get your food in 10 minutes.
And users who place an order even get a 2-minute automated call letting them know to come down from their office or from their house.
Yeah, you get a 2-minute call, you open up the app, you'll see the map, you'll see where the driver is. I mean, it's pretty cool.
So the main way that you guys are differentiating SpoonRocket in the Bay with so many different food startups is price and delivery time. In such a populated space, do you think only a few differentiating factors are enough to stand out and to continue to stand out?
Good. Well, I think, one, the food space is huge, right? It's like a huge market. It's like one of the few markets that's actually in the trillions. And then I think, I mean, if you just look at fast food, McDonald's, Burger King, Jack in the Box, fundamentally they're practically the same, but they also exist. And I feel like it's going to be the same way here, where it's like, there's Munchery who's going for, you use Munchery maybe once or twice a week. It's going to be like $40, because you want to treat yourself a little better. But then all the other times when you're just hungry and you want food quickly, you use SpoonRocket. So that's kind of where we fit into the market.
And you guys also right now have the lowest price, but back in the spring you raised your price $2 and some customers were upset about that. How did you address that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was one of the toughest decisions that we had to make, going from a $6 price point to an $8 price point. But we didn't want to be put into a position where we had to decide between quality of what we serve and then the cost of it.
All right, so now let's say that one of your drivers is located and they're 2 minutes away from the house, but they get a flat tire and they break that 10-minute delivery time. What happens? How do you handle that?
Well, so for the most part, we don't guarantee a 10-minute delivery time. It is something that we strive for, and there's a very high portion of our customers who do get it under that 10-minute delivery time. But if the driver does get a flat tire, the order will actually be taken by a different driver and then rerouted. So it will take a little bit longer, but it's still pretty quick.
Yeah, and we have a great customer service team, so I mean, they'll be taken care of.
Great. I mean, if you're only two... Go ahead, Jake.
I was going to ask, how do you keep your drivers from eating your food?
Well, they do get one meal a day, so that keeps them generally pretty happy.
All right.
So SpoonRocket is the fastest company to come out of Y Combinator, and you guys have a really interesting story with that. Anson, you've shared in previous interviews that you applied 3 times, you got rejected, and then the last time you got rejected, you said, no, I'm refuting this and I'm getting in. How does that resilience shape how you do business?
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of the mentality you have to have as an entrepreneur. I mean, even Michael Jordan says like the reason why he succeeds is because he's failed so many times. And it's one of those things. I mean, for us, getting in on the third try isn't even that bad. I know people who got in on the sixth try. So I mean, we feel that if you have that fear and you can't manage it properly and you can't keep trying, then I mean it's hard to build a business that way.
Yeah, I think to touch on that point also, it's just like the most successful entrepreneurs are the ones who they never give up, right? No is never good enough. They'll keep trying until they get what they're set out to achieve.
So when you get that no, then whether it's a customer saying no, they don't want to use your service, or a venture capitalist saying they're not interested in investing, do you suggest that entrepreneurs go back to that same person, or do you move on and try to get somebody else?
Well, I mean, you should definitely just move on to other venture capitalists or angels, but you definitely do want to stay connected, right? Just because the time isn't right now at this point of time doesn't mean that in the future they won't support you or back you.
And what do you think is the most appropriate way for a young startup to reach out again? Is there a specific time they should wait, or is maybe like they go for a meeting rather than sending an email?
I think typically, I mean, just what we learned, it's all about relationships, and really build that relationship first. Just ask them out for coffee, maybe get some advice. I mean, in the Valley, I think there's a saying where if you want advice, ask for money. If you want money, ask for advice. So it's one of those things where really get to know the people first, and then once they like you, I mean, these guys have a ton of money. Like, it's not going to be a big deal, right? Yeah.
Right. Okay, so now, Anson, you mentioned in an interview where Mark Zuckerberg was explaining how growth teams are the future of marketing. So how vital is it to have a growth hacker if you're a modern startup?
Well, I mean, the way I see growth is basically marketing 2.0. I wouldn't say necessarily that it's different from marketing, except it's kind of like being a lot more intelligent about it. And yeah, so I wouldn't say having a growth hacker is necessarily important, but there should definitely be people in the company focused on the metrics and the analytics dashboard and tracking user behavior and really learning from your users. That's like, because really, like, I think the heart is fickle and your intuition isn't going to be always right 100% of the time. But then if you look at stats and metrics and user behavior, like, that's going to tell you exactly how users are behaving and engaging with your platform. So it's like absolutely critical.
Right.
So a huge advantage.
So when you're running feedback loops, these growth hackers, so to speak, should be the touch point?
Yeah.
So as you look at your company, like you just said, analytics don't lie. And you look at what users like, what they don't like, and maybe what they want more of. How do you look at that and say, okay, we're going to capitalize on these three things for growth?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So if you just said that analytics don't lie. So you look at your analytics from a growth standpoint.
Right.
When you notice three prominent things, so maybe people enjoy the delivery time, they enjoy a couple of specific meals, and they're happy about the smoothie edition. How do you capitalize on that as you expand SpoonRocket?
Well, it's yes. So those three metrics. So first, it's all about figuring out all the different metrics, right? Trying like hundreds of different things until you find those three things that actually stick. And then you kind of just really focus on that experience, that part of the experience. And it might not necessarily be like a positive side. It could be like a negative side. It could be like there's like 1,000 people coming to our website and only 10 people are signing up. So then once you figure that out, then you're like, okay, let's focus our efforts on, converting people and improving the sign-up flow and, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, to touch bases on that, growth hacking is generally just understanding the user behavior and how they interact with your website or app, where marketing at the broader scale is, building that brand awareness and market strategy. So it's a little bit different.
Great. And then one of the factors you guys have right now is working very closely with local vendors like the cookie department and Indie Cakes in the Bay. As you expand to different cities across the nation, how do you plan to continue working with local vendors?
Yeah, I mean, as we scale into other cities, it is going to be important to create and establish relationships with local vendors. And what we'll ultimately do is, start curating what are the best products, what do people like, and what do people naturally have an affinity towards. And that's really going to help both build SpoonRocket and also the other company that we're working with.
Great.
So now what needs to happen for you guys to achieve nationwide delivery?
I think it's really fine-tuning our service a lot better. We have a great product and service right now, but really to enhance the overall user experience so that it's very magical. I think, a service like ours, it's pretty great already. But there is some work to be done in order for it to scale into other cities nationwide.
We're super ambitious people, and so we do plan on, being nationwide in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, global wide in 5 years too, I'm sure.
What?
Global in 5 years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The way we approach this, it's completely non-traditional. It's the way we're going to scale this business it's unprecedented. So. We do have a game plan, and it'll be fun. We'll be in San Diego pretty shortly.
Oh, thank God.
Forget the rest of the nation. Just come to San Diego. That's all we need.
So on your way there, then, do you foresee partnerships? Maybe with you had mentioned Uber earlier. Do you see you joining forces with them to achieve this? Maybe not necessarily then.
It's a possibility. I mean, it really depends on how things pan out and what's beneficial for both companies. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, our job is really just to build a great company, and whatever comes down the road, we'll address that when we face it.
Great. So do the two of you predict that the rest of the country is going to follow suit with the Bay in these food startups and food delivery?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple startups around the country that are trying to create similar models. Or even just newer models in the food space. And I think it's great because they are solving a great need. So we are going to displace probably some of the old traditional models of food service.
All right. And now what's the last thing that you want our users and our audience to know about you guys?
Well, I think the last thing is, we've come a long ways. And we were fraternity brothers, and that's kind of how we met. And we like to have a lot of fun. And what we learned throughout the process is that culture is, absolutely number one. Because if you don't have a team that's down for each other and likes to have fun together and hangs out outside of work, it's pretty hard to build something magical together. That's why the team here, they love being here, and it's one of those things that, it's not like a job to them. If you can build a company that's not like a job, but really you're part of a team building something awesome, then I think, you have something special going for you.
So post-graduation is really where we learn to follow our passion, because you'll never work in a day in your life if you really follow your passion.
Yeah, and neither will the rest of your teammates.
That's great. And I think one thing we have to know is what your favorite SpoonRocket meals are.
Personally, I like all the stuffed chickens that we serve. We'll serve it about once every 2 weeks.
So you only get it 2 times a month. That's rough.
My favorites are always the salads. We're pretty healthy eaters ourselves. Because when we were doing our food delivery restaurant, 5 years ago, that was all really junk food. We were slinging junk food to children, and then the salads that we have now, they're phenomenal. We have the executive chef from the Rotunda, and he designed all the salads. They're amazing. If you guys come in the Bay Area, you really have to try our salads.
We'll definitely meet up next time we're there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Can
so
we
now
end with you telling us the locations you guys are in and how users can order a SpoonRocket meal today?
Yeah, so right now we actually cover 4 cities in the East Bay. So we cover Oakland, Emeryville, Albany, and Berkeley. And outside of the East Bay, we also cover the entire region of San Francisco. And you can order through the web, iOS or Android.
Great. And then how about social media? How can people find you there?
We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/SpoonRocket, Twitter as well, at SpoonRocket, and then Instagram, spoon_rocket, and then Pinterest, also pinterest.com/SpoonRocket.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, and we're looking forward to coming out and trying SpoonRocket for ourselves.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.